January 31st, 2022. You're listening to Oblast with Kevin and Don. I'm Kevin.
And that makes me Don.
Usually it's Don and Kevin, but I just mixed it up today because
that's cool.
I couldn't think of what the hell I was doing. I'm out of control today. Woo!
It's crazy Monday.
Wild. Things are going wild. No, I don't know. Have you never listened to this podcast before? This probably isn't the episode to start with. No. You ever watch that Black Summer on Netflix thing?
What?
Black Summer on Netflix. You ever watch that show?
No.
It's a zombie show. Do you like zombie show?
No.
It's like
The Walking Dead did it for me.
It's like, yeah, see, like, it's kind of like 28 Days Later in the sense where, like, the monsters or whatever, the zombies are just like, they run, at you, yeah. But they're like super tough. Like, you can just sit there and unload like a machine gun on them and they keep coming. And it's directed so well. It's so fucking intense. And it's just like, God damn it. Like I finished with the last episode yesterday of season 2. And it's just like the whole episode, it's like an hour long. It's just nonstop. It's just non-fucking stop, man. Just people just running, battling these zombies, screaming. It's like the opposite of The Walking Dead. You know how The Walking Dead, the zombies are kind of slow and they just kind of push them over. They're like, right. Or they just stab them with a pencil very quickly. Yeah. And they just kind of explode. It's kind of like just the opposite. It's just like people are running for their lives. And it's crazy because you do not know who is going to live or who is going to die on that show. Like, it just never seems to be like any sort of continuity with the people that are on the show. Like, it's like for a while you'll be with somebody and you'll be like, well, that he's going to stick. I guess he's not going to stick around. I guess they just killed him. It's crazy. It's just a crazy show. I enjoyed it. Hopefully there'll be a season 3, but it took them 2 years or something to get from season 1 to season 2. So I'm not sure, but it ended kind of open-ended. So I think it'll, there'll probably be another one eventually. It was pretty good. But
Black Summer, you said?
Yeah, Black Summer. Yeah. You know what? If you do see it, just watch the first episode and see if it's your speed, because that's all you need. It's not going to be like there's not going to be all this backstory, and families hugging and stuff and waiting for Johnny to come home from school or something. I mean, it just goes, man. It's just like the gas is pressed like from the beginning. Yeah. It's just on. It's crazy. Okay. Anyway, and the reason I sort of bring that up is to spin into Daredevil, because I was watching season 3 and the prison sequence, the jail sequence where he's in jail and he's got to fight to get out of jail. That was really well done. That was like a really well directed scene. I mean, they choreograph those fights so well, but not every move is perfect. Like, it's not that spot on because it's a TV show, but it's pretty close. It's pretty good. You know what I mean? He's just a little bit of a small guy. I wonder sometimes, but then again, I got to remember, like, he's a superhero. He's been exposed to some kind of radiation and shit or whatever. So maybe he's got some extra strength and stuff. But that was really good. So speaking of Daredevil then, well, that scene was weird because when I was watching Black Summer, the last episode was similar. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's these people just getting attacked, and trying to survive and just fighting and getting out of it. And then I put Daredevil on for some lighter fare. Yeah. And, it's like the same thing, dude's just getting attacked and just like fighting his way out. And I'm just like, there's a theme here. I don't know what's going on. But I saw that Marvel Comics is bringing out a new Daredevil series with Matt Murdock and Kingpin. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, like,
you're talking the comic book.
Yeah, the comic book.
Yeah. Right. Just so nobody's confused out there.
Right. But I'm thinking to myself, like, that could be being timed to coincide with a new Daredevil show, or I don't think there's a movie yet. I got a feeling it's going to be a show, or, we know he's going to probably first cameo in She-Hulk. Probably.
Right.
It seems very likely. But, I think that they're probably timing this comic book to be there so that when kids especially, want more, they're going to go out and buy the book. You know what I mean? maybe not. But I'm thinking everything's lining up. We've seen Kingpin. We know that more than likely Charlie Cox is under contract with Marvel at this point. They're probably already working on things. Now there's a comic book coming out. Like, you heard it here first, folks. Like, it's coming. I'm kind of excited.
Well, I keep seeing like clickbait things on the internet where they're like, new season of Daredevil is set to go, and Charlie Cox and all this stuff, and it's just like, I don't click on it because it's like I'm not going to fall for it,
right?
Because I haven't heard anything, so it's like it makes you wonder. It's like, maybe they are doing a fourth one, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they. That's the good question. Well, first of all, I think that whole Marvel TV thing was dissolved. Like, I think all of it. Like, I think. Now, I could be wrong about the Netflix studios, but I know that the television ones were all eliminated or something. They never really did work with Marvel movie. Like, occasionally you would get some celebrities, very small ones, like the Thor girl and stuff, that would cameo on like Shield, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff. But like, and you would see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but apparently those two groups just didn't work together. Like, they weren't on the same, you know what I mean? They weren't like friendly or something.
It would have to work because Coulson is from.
Well, right. But they may have just, like, what was he getting paid in the movies? And not that much. And so they probably say, hey, you want to work on the TV show? I'm sure there's some of that. But what I'm saying is that like when these were being filmed, like apparently, I think I read that like none of the TV shows were canon. Like Marvel, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., all that stuff wasn't canonical.
Which is weird because Inhumans and all that stuff. I know,
and again, whatever.
I thought they were trying to say the Netflix stuff was non-canon, but then they turned around and they put
right.
Kingpin into Hawkeye, and it's just like, okay, you guys got to make up your mind.
Yeah,
they're like, well, we just want to pick and choose.
Yeah, yeah. It's let's see here. Let's look this up. Let's see. Is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. canon?
Out of all of them, I would assume Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is, like, Agent Carter probably is, because they're like, whatever, it was back in the day, who cares? But from what I was being told, but from what I was gathering, it was the Netflix. They were like, okay, you know what? Let's just separate and say that the Netflix stuff is not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It says here, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon. It says, while the authors of the story of Marvel Studios, the making of Marvel Cinematic Universe, indicated that Agent Carter is considered canon within the MCU, which means nothing. Nothing happened on that show.
Right.
They also suggested that Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not. With this news hit the interweb, some fans took to social media to debate the confirmation, which the new book's author, Tara Bennett, responded in a tweet that read, "We wrote the book. It does not say Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is part of the MCU. Please go read the book where it clearly states how each show works in the MCU. You're not tweeting what we wrote." Let's see. In an initial tweet, Bennett again tried to clarify the fact, saying that Agent Carter is different from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Marvel's history, and it says what you want to know. Let's see. So, canon or not canon? That is the question. Well, I don't know. That doesn't necessarily answer it either, but because you got another one here. It says Clark Gregg believes Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon in the MCU. Then it goes, Disney Plus just quietly erased Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. from Marvel movie canon. Really? What?
It doesn't make sense.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, Inhumans, and Runaways have all been added to the Marvel Legacy Movies and Series section of Disney Plus, indicating these Marvel shows don't take place within the MCU. Huh. Well, there you go. I don't know, man. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it doesn't really matter, I guess. It It's probably just easier to write. Things get messy when you have too many plot lines all over the place and you want to introduce new characters that, and then you got to like explain why they're different people and, maybe their powers are different and stuff. So it's just easier to say like that old stuff doesn't count,
Right.
Otherwise you got to do that shit like Marvel did and just destroy the whole Marvel universe, and then create an alternate Marvel universe that's, new or whatever. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand saying like the original Lou Ferrigno Hulk is not canon. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. No,
that old Spider-Man television movie with the weird guy being Peter Parker. It's just like, okay, I can go with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like I said, it had Sif in it, like you said.
Right.
And they've dealt with things that, like, in the Vision and Scarlet Witch, in WandaVision, where she gets a hold of the book The Darkhold. Well, guess where that first showed up? Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's like, okay, it's not canon, but we're going to make this movie about the Inhumans, and we're going to have them deal with, you know what I mean? And it's like that came from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then even with like Captain America and the Fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., which happened in whatever it was, the second, the Captain America Winter Soldier movie.
Right.
That had to do with, that affected the television show. So it's like, it just seems stupid where they're like, all right, this has nothing to do with it, but we're going to connect it in like 5 different ways.
Yeah. I think too, like Hydra, you've got the Winter Soldier as part of Hydra and everything, but I find Hydra to be kind of, it reminds me of, Chaos on the Get Smart TV show.
Yeah.
Like they're just the Cobra Command or something. They're always the bad guy that has some sort of unlimited budget but get foiled all the time kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're just not a very interesting big bad group to me. Maybe somebody will get a hold of them and do something more interesting with them. But yeah, they just tend to be a bunch of.
Well, that's like why those groups are made. Hydra and AIM and all the different like evil, quote unquote, evil organizations.
Right.
Just for people, for them to fight. You know what I mean? Right. So they're not super powered people. It's like, we're just going to send these 50 regular dudes at them with guns. And hopefully they can beat Thor.
Half of them will be wearing gas masks so we can reuse them.
Right. They're not going to get killed. They're all getting hit by a hammer that's thrown by Thor, and it's just knocking them out. It's not
beheading them and shit. Well, that was to your point, when you were mentioning on Daredevil that it was the best, it was better than any of the Disney shows that you've watched, from the
right.
And I was thinking that too the other day. I'm like, I just don't. Just watching, what was going on, like I just don't see how they take that series and put it into Disney Plus. Like I just feel like Disney Plus is limited themselves in a way to keep everything in that PG universe. And it's not that everything has to be violent. Like it doesn't. There is room for like an Ant-Man and Wasp kind of thing that's not, but the Hell's Kitchen stuff, especially the Daredevil stuff. Punisher's not necessarily Hell's Kitchen, but you know what I mean. He was part of that whole Netflix thing. Jessica Jones sleeping with bartenders, that kind of thing too. But that whole like universe in the comic books has also been very mature content, right? Daredevil wasn't, I don't know, having sex and stuff in his comic book that I can recall. But that guy was tormented. You know what I mean? Like a lot of religious torment and a lot of violence and things and having really mature storylines about murders and rapes and things of crime and, beating them down. And that's the same with the Punisher. I mean, his family gets murdered and he goes on a murder spree. You can't do the Punisher on Disney Plus. I mean, you can't, right? I mean, unless they change the rules, of course, if they come out with an adult section or something. But
it's like,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's almost like the Disney Plus shows are like 80s and before comics, and then the Netflix stuff is like 90s, and you know what I mean, to now,
right?
Because it's somewhere in there, like it's somewhere in between the 80s and the 90s. The comic books changed with the Dark Knight, and stuff like that, where and then hell, with Daredevil and the whole Typhoid Mary and
Right.
the whole him going crazy and all that or whatever. That's where it switched. So it's like Disney Plus is like, we want to see the stuff back here, where they're like punching Hitler and, just knocking people out and taking them to jail. Whereas where Netflix is like, all right, so you're going to shoot this dude right in the face.
Right.
It's just like, okay.
Right. Yeah. And also it's just kind of like, as an adult, and watching it, I know what the limits are, right? Like, for instance, Boba Fett, right? House of Boba Fett, whatever it's called. Like, he's got a Rancor now, right?
Yeah.
Like, I could see a guy falling into the Rancor pit and the Rancor walking up and maybe swallowing the guy whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see the Rancor tearing a guy apart. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I know that. Like, I know that watching it, Like, I know that Disney has limits, and I'm not going to see anything extreme, that happens here. There's going to be some blaster fire. There's not going to be any beheaded people. You see a burned body, but barely, you don't see any flash or anything. Like,
it's from a distance.
Yeah.
You see smoke coming up.
Right. Like, it's all safe. And as long as the stories are good, it's okay. I just think that there are stories, though, that like Daredevil, but also more so the Punisher, that you just can't do. Like, I don't see it. And I don't know. I don't know what goes on inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe head people, but I guess because all of the movies haven't been rated R, and they've all made billions of dollars, that they're just like, don't worry about it. We don't need to go that direction. But I feel like in some ways, because they've gave Venom to Sony, Morbius, whatever, to Sony, we may see something similar with the Punisher at some point here too. The other thing is that Disney owns Hulu. And they took all the 20th Century Fox content and they moved that onto Hulu. Because when they bought 20th Century Fox, they ended up with all of this adult content, and they can't put that on Disney Plus. So they stick it all on Hulu. So Hulu is actually Disney's adult content, basically.
Yeah.
But they don't have Marvel anything on there, Now they could. I mean, where's Deadpool going to go? He's not going to go to Disney Plus, right? So, and he is a Fox character originally. So they could put Deadpool on there, and then they could put some other adult rated things on there. But I don't know. It's.
I just read something that said that Deadpool 3 is in development, and it's going to be part of the MCU, and it's going to be the first R-rated MCU movie.
Right. Well, no,
allegedly.
I mean, Disney did, green light the last one, and and it was rated R, but that was more or less like they bought it, it was already done, and they said, okay, go ahead, we'll go ahead and release it. It'll be our first rated R movie as a production company, studio, whatever that is, publisher. But what I'm saying is, though, is, so they might go ahead and make another one, they'll put it under a 20th Century Fox brand, that they now own. But it's just not going to end up on Disney Plus. You know what I mean? So it's going to be part of the MCU, but it's not going to be on Disney Plus. Again, assuming they don't make any changes, assuming they don't put some sort of, password lock wall section on Disney Plus for adults or whatever they were going to do. I would love it if they did that, because that would hint that they're willing to have more adult rated content. But anyway, did you watch the last episode of the Mandalorian, I guess I should say?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you think about it? Jedi really liked it. Like, it was the most Star Wars thing he's watched in a long time. All I got out of it was that he got a new spaceship.
Yeah, right. And then May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. showed up and.
Right at the very end, right?
Right. Yeah. I watched it, and the whole time I was just waiting for it to go. Because, like, when you watch the Book of Boba Fett, And the thing is that they keep doing those things where he goes into the back the tank, and then he flashes back to the Tusken Raiders and stuff, you know. And then as you're sitting there watching that, you're just like, yeah, come on, just let's move along and let's get out of the tank and go do something. Right. You know, like go fight these crime lords, or go, you know, show these people who's boss, or and you're waiting for this. And that last episode, even though it was good, it was okay. It was, if it was an episode of The Mandalorian, you would have been like, that was the most boring Mandalorian episode ever, because you were just like, what is this guy doing? Like, he's going here, now he's kicked out. Wait, no, what? But like, you're watching it. I was watching it last week, and the whole time I'm just like, all right, go back to the tank. Come on, like, you know,
right.
Just like a regular Boba Fett series. Yeah. Everybody was like, that was the best Boba Fett one ever. Oh, okay. I mean, I guess so. It was good. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it was just like, you spent the whole episode. You could have done this in half of it. You know what I mean?
Well, and you know, it's kind of like at the end, I think, of the last episode, I think you're supposed to be like, oh yeah, Mandalorian and, you know, Mando and Boba Fett teaming up, you know? Yeah. But I'm thinking to myself, like, two guys that kind of suck.
Yeah, right. He's all sad because he took his helmet off, and they're mad, and the two people are mad at him.
Yeah, and the one guy wants him dead anyway.
And the one guy's like, "I want your sword. Give me your sword."
Yeah, like, what? And the other goes just talk shit the whole time, and you know, just makes him a piece of, you know, Yoda armor,
asking riddles and stuff.
I know. But I just feel like, you know, I like the show, I do, but I just feel like I like it in a sense of like the last trilogy was so painful.
Right.
That I get something that's at least pretty good, and then I'm just like, this is great, you know, but I don't know. These decisions they make are really questionable.
You know how in like in older like 80s movies or whatever, or TV shows, they show the good guy or the bad guy or whatever. They'd be like, we found the person we're looking for. Let's go get him. And then they'd all like raise their guns and let's go. Or they put the clip in the gun. You know, they're like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like most of those movies, they'd be like, we found him. Let's go. And everybody like, pulls the clip out, looks at it, puts it back in the gun, and they, let's go. The Book of Boba Fett.
Right.
I know you don't know where I'm going with this. The Book of Boba Fett, that move, he doesn't do that move. What his is taking the helmet on and off. It's like he's always, every time he goes somewhere, like he doesn't have the helmet on, he's putting the helmet on. Now he's showing up somewhere, he's taking the helmet off.
Right.
And then like something happens, he's putting the helmet on. And it's just like, dude, make up your mind. Are you going with it or you're not?
Like the helmet is iconic, so it's like they want him to wear the helmet, but then he's probably like, I cannot act with this helmet on me.
Right.
It's too hot that I just can't put this. Taking off the helmet on. I think I could take off the helmet on this. Well, you're kind of getting, you know, a bunch of guys with guns are pointing at you. Well, we're talking right now, so that I could put it on quickly before people shoot at me.
Yeah, right. So that's the new version of checking your clip.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I totally get it. No, the show is, like you said, you kind of want it to go somewhere because there's no stakes right now. There's no big bad. Like these trade organizations are just, there's no, like, it kind of was a little bit interesting when you had the double Jabba thing going on there with the twins or whatever. Like you're thinking, okay, they're going to be the problem. But that lasted all about 5 minutes or something.
Then you put the next episode on. They're like, okay, we're leaving. You can have the Wookiee. Like, what?
Right. Like the writing is weird. Like I don't know, man.
It doesn't make sense. It's like, well, like you said, there's no big bad. And it's like, so far the worst thing that's happened is some dude's walked in and been condescending to him. Like, we've already given our money. And the mayor's guy where he's like, we love that you're here and we will not pay you. And then there's like, Milton from Office Space who's walking in there. He's just like, he's like, yeah, nobody respects you. Right. Nobody's afraid of you. And it's like, I'm watching this going like, yeah, I know. Nobody's afraid of him. Like, I was afraid of him from 2 movies where he had 2 lines.
Right.
And he only showed up for a total of like 3 minutes. And I was like, dude, this dude's bad. And now he's got his own show, and the people are just walking up to him like, "Yeah, we're not afraid of you."
I think that dude's gonna come back at some point. The Milton dude, because you're not hiring him for a 5-minute thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying he's like a Tom Cruise or something, but you're not paying him to just do that one cameo and split. Like, he's gonna come back at some point for some reason, I think.
Yeah.
No, you're totally right. The thing is it's like, in the first Star Wars film, the very first film in the 70s, right? Like, right off the bat, basically, it starts off with a whole bunch of people getting killed. They blow a fucking planet up, and kill, everybody fucking gets destroyed. They got that crazy needle robot about to attack the princess. They're
Dr. Ball.
Yeah, they're shooting everybody and stuff. Vader chokes somebody. He doesn't kill him. People always choke him to death, but he's like using the Force to choke him out and
picking dudes up off their feet. Just like, oh,
his fucking lightsabers. What's his face to death, and then then they blow up the Death Star after Luke loses like a bunch of friends who get killed. In space combat. You know what I mean? And it was rated I think today, I don't even know what it's rated today. Is Star Wars rated G? I hope not. I hope it's at least PG. Because
PG.
Yeah, it was way more violent than most of the things I've been watching on Disney Plus, or even in a lot of the MCU movies. Although, to be fair, Thanos did kill half the universe. Although it was the most kind way to check out. You just sort of turn to ash and float away.
It didn't look so nice. Everybody's just like, "Oh, it's so nice and peaceful."
Nobody just had their organs explode from the inside or something when he snapped his fingers. Be way more interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not knocking all these things. I just feel like Disney has limitations, which just I see them and I wish they didn't. It's not so much the fact that it needs it or anything else. It's just that I know it's there, right? Yeah. If they didn't have limitations and then they made the same content, then I wouldn't be as concerned about it. But I just feel like I'm watching a television show. It's like how it was, this is cable. We can watch other things. And now, like you said, it's like 80s TV. If things are censored and toned down and,
in the beginning of Star Wars, they had a bar fight that you probably would not.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Dude's hand gets cut off.
And you wouldn't. I doubt you would see anything like that.
No.
On the
right.
Disney
Especially
series.
from the good guys, right? You know what I mean? They changed it. Han shot first and all that. Han Solo, hero. Murders a guy in the very beginning of Star Wars,
because he owes somebody else money. He's like, this guy's a scoundrel. Right. He's not a nice person.
Totally, exactly. That's it exactly. And so it's like
you owe my boss money. Well, I'm going to shoot you.
It's like we didn't go from a kids movie into more kids movies. We went into we started with something that was kind of adult. You know what I mean? It was. It was, and we've kind of progressed downward to for safety or something.
I blame the Ewoks.
Yeah, Henson in general, with all the puppets and everything, was part of Star Wars for the better or worse. It was probably just can you just make the droids? You guys do a great job with the droids, but the puppets, they're Muppets, man. All right, Muppets, whatever. I don't know. I mean, people like Yoda?
Yoda's all right. It's just these furry ones that look like pets.
Yeah, I never quite understood the whole history of Star Wars 2, where they said that they were supposed to go to a Chewbacca's planet, right? And then there was some sort of problem, they couldn't get enough fur or something to make tall Wookiees. They had Star Wars money, you know what I mean? They had millions of dollars. They could have easily made fucking Wookiee Town. Why did they go with the little people and or kids or whoever the Ewoks were? You know what I mean?
Maybe it's like you said. They're like, all right, we got enough material. We can make 5 Wookiees, or we could do 20 of these little Ewoks.
They could have got more fake fur, and the thing is with the Ewoks too. It's that that makes the Empire look so pathetic. Like that they got their asses kicked.
Log.
But by a bunch of little munchkins in fursuits, If it would have been like Chewbacca's people, the Wookiees, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would have been ferocious.
You'd understand it.
Yeah, they would have been ripping those guys apart, Well, they wouldn't because they wouldn't show us that. But maybe, but no, they went with it's horrible. It was horrible.
It's just like, it's like as if the stormtroopers don't have a bad enough rap because they can't shoot straight and they're just dumb anyways. Then you're going to have these little furry dudes with rocks in their hands just knocking them out. It's just like, they're not, it doesn't make them look, you know what I mean? The first Star Wars, you were like, oh my God, these stormtroopers, there's so many of them and they're all around and they all got blasters and all this stuff. But by the end of Return of the Jedi, you're just like, oh, so you could have just hit him with a rock.
Right. Like the zombies on The Walking Dead, Yeah. You could just knock them over with anything. Clunk their heads together like Chewbacca does and they just pass out.
It's like Three Stooges.
It's so bad. I'm not a fan of Jedi anyway. I think that, I don't know. I think that the first film personally is the best film because it sets everything up. It's a fast 90 minutes. People don't like to say that's the best one. People like to say Empire because, Hoth. It's amazing, Hoth, right? But the middle of the movie is like a lot of them sitting inside that asteroid, just bullshitting, repairing the thing, and and then having lunch on Cloud City. It's like it's a snore fest through the middle of it. I think it's the second best movie, but I don't think it's fabulous. And then at the end, like the final scene with him and Vader, of course, is great because of the "I am your father" and everything. But it's filmed weird. It's filmed like it's like a disco. Like Luke Hamill's dancing around and things are smoke and I mean, it's awkward. The way that whole thing's laid out. So I don't think it's I really think the first film is the best film. But Jedi is awful. I think I there's not a lot to it that I look at and go, it's so great. The Emperor sucks, and the fucking the speeders are kind of cool, right? That 5 minutes with the speeders in the beginning, like they're new, they were kind of cool and everything. But then like Lucas just chokes when he wrote it. He's just like, I guess we'll just have him blow up another Death Star, Like we did that in the first film. You got a whole universe of ideas that you can do here. You know what I mean? Like you got this Empire and they have a crazy budget and you're going to just use the same shit it'll be a half-built Death Star this time. It's like,
they're on the way to build. It's all the construction workers had to die. They're not even like, they're just contractors. They're not stormtroopers. You know what I mean? The stormtroopers couldn't build that stuff because they just mess it up.
Oh yeah. Well, they apparently couldn't build one of these things without a weakness either.
It's like the robot chicken thing. You mean to tell me you can't defend a 2-meter port that's like in the middle of nowhere? Like seriously, that's what. But if you think about it, like you were just saying about Empire Strikes Back. The last 3 movies, The Force Awakens, and then the other one, and then the one after that. I honestly don't even remember the name of the second one.
It doesn't matter
because I have no. It's just like
Revenge of the Sith. No, it's like
you're right. I'm going to start the Phantom Menace. I don't know. If you think about it, like that Force Awakens was like whatever, and then the second one, people with like the Force Awakens came out and everybody went, well, it's just like A New Hope. Like it's the same story. Is you go to the sand planet, you find somebody and you ride, and it's the rise of that person becoming a Jedi. And it's like, oh, there are some similarities there. But from what you just said about Empire Strikes Back, about being like, well, the beginning was good and then the middle, they're just like sitting there eating lunch, playing holodeck chess or whatever. Yeah. And it's like that second one of the last 3, that's exactly like Empire Strikes Back, because the beginning you're like, oh, here we go, we're doing something, and then that whole middle section is just they're floating in that ship.
Dude, I know. They're being chased slowly.
But they're not moving. They're like
everybody's got light speed and shit, but now they don't. Or so, I don't know.
You have to conserve fuel. So we got the enemy behind us. They're going to kill us. But we got to conserve fuel, so just shut everything down and leave life support on, and we'll just float, and they won't shoot us. and that's kind of like
very slowly. Yeah. Oh, I know.
So it's kind of strange how the threes have similarities.
I don't understand the writing, man. I just don't like. They just go. They could have a fan fiction contest and like get the audience members to come up with scripts and have people vote on it or something, and you'd come up with so much better stuff than a lot of the things they've done. Like I just don't get like Boba Fett. Like you could have probably have found like a couple of 12-year-olds from back in the day that could have told you like an amazing Boba Fett story that you could have made into that show, and it would have been great. I mean.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
you
feel, yeah. Go ahead.
You could have done a Boba Fett series like Dog the Bounty Hunter, where he would just be like, for every episode was him being like, "All right, bro, we got to go find this guy." Look at and he's like walking around, and people are just like trying to beat him up, and he's killing people as he just goes along. He's like, "Listen, I just want so and so."
But look, if you just take from the movies, right? Like just the first Boba Fett, right? First 3 movies, original 3.
Yeah.
Like there's not much about Boba Fett, but what we do know is that, he works for Jabba, right? And he, wants Han Solo, right? But he's also like he's a contract bounty hunter, working for Jabba. But why does he work for Jabba? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is he independent or not? And what I'm saying is I'm not looking for an answer from you right now. What I'm saying though is that like that is like where you could have got more into depth in the character. Like, what brought him to that way, because what we have right now is just mostly an old guy talking about like like some guy you meet in a bar or something, I used to do things when I'm not proud of them, but now I'm looking for a place to settle down and get married or something. You're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, right.
It's not Boba Fett.
I mean,
maybe they could have a
bounty hunter. It's
well, no, he is. But what is he? But why? You know what I mean? Like you're not born a bounty hunter in the sense of like what is he trying to? What does he want the money for? Was he going to buy a villa and go live in his
buy a new ship
in his new? Yeah, he doesn't like Slave One. Why is it called Slave One? Is he a slave? Is he a slave to Jabba, whatever the fuck his name is, Jabba the Hutt? Like there's like those are like if you were sitting down with the character and writing something, like these are the first things I would think about and be like, these are some things we could answer, like
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if Boba Fett was such a great bounty hunter, how come Greedo found Han first? Right? He finds him in a bar somewhere. Greedo's just like, "Hey, I'm Greedo, and I found you, and I'm going to collect this bounty." And Han's like, "No, you're not." But then Boba Fett shows up, who can't find him,
right?
And then it's like a big battle. It's like, oh,
right. No, you're totally right. I mean, and to the fact that he does get Han, right? He gives him the Jabba the Hutt, but then he's still in Jabba's service by Jedi, right?
Still there.
He's still there, and dumb, gets involved in trying to fight a Jedi. Like you think you would have known better. Although, we're not even going to talk about the way he sort of gets killed at the end because it was disappointing for every kid who watched it. Jedi, just irritating. But again, like there's some history there that. Why not explore that? Like, just you could have written up some. Like, he could have had a daughter somewhere that's that's enslaved, and that he's trying to get out by cutting a deal with Jabba or something.
Right.
We've seen that kind of thing in the past. I'm not saying he's a good guy, or maybe he likes to gamble a lot and he's in debt up to his eyeballs. But yeah,
you know what? The more you think about this, hold on a second. Boba Fett is supposed to be the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. So Greedo finds Han Solo first in the first movie.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, fine. You need some canon.
I just ran into him.
Fodder.
Yeah, look, it's Han Solo.
Yeah, it's like, how did you happen to be on this Tatooine planet? I just happen to be here. I mean, and sure, you need somebody for Han to just be like, dispatch quickly. So, okay, Greedo, go on. Boba Fett had to go to the Empire and be like, look, I got to catch this guy. And I can't do it, but you guys can. So why don't you catch them?
Right.
And you can freeze them, and then I'll take him to you know what I mean? He's like, I'll take him to Jabba and get my money.
Right. I mean, listen, maybe he's not the best man. Maybe he sucks because the only time you see him in combat, he gets knocked by his own jetpack and flies into his death. Right.
He gets tied up by his own rope. He bounces off the wall and trips himself.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's just maybe it is Three Stooges. Maybe Boba Fett's terrible in the lore. Huh. Like we as kids we mythologized him because he had a cool helmet and a rocket pack and stuff, but maybe he was actually terrible.
We didn't know anything about him, so we all made up our own history of like, this dude is the best. Right. He has got to be. And then like they show it, they're like, okay, well here's who he is, and you're just like, this guy is not the best.
Right.
Wait, it's like
George Lucas was just like, they're like, what about Boba Fett, George? And he's like, oh, that guy sucks. Like, let me show you.
What? Who?
Let me show you what I wrote for that guy. Like, that guy's he's nobody. Oh, well, look, kids really like him. They do? Psh.
Yeah. Hey George, we're getting a lot of callback. Everybody's loving Boba Fett. And he's who? Oh, Boba Fett, the bounty hunter. Is that the robot one? No.
Yeah, flip through all the bounty hunters we had in this. Is it? Which one is it? This guy is the guy with the dog face. Guy is no
giant lizard one. Hammerhead.
the guy in the yellow pants. Oh man, I completely like. I just feel like. Yeah, but
Hammerhead didn't even have any lines or anything like that. He was in a canteen scene for like a second. And he got a figure. He got like an original.
It was a cool
Star
figure
Wars
too. People wanted the Hammerhead.
Everybody was like, "I want Hammerhead," and it was just like nobody knew who he was. He didn't do anything. It was like, and then if you played with him, if you're sitting there playing with your action figures, he'd die first.
He had a drink. He was having a drink or something. No, I know. And
at least Walrus Man got his arm cut off.
Like,
that's who I bought.
Isn't Jabba's home on Tatooine? Like,
yeah.
What was Han Solo doing on Tatooine? Like, he's wanted by Jabba.
Look at all this stuff we're figuring out tonight. All this after
like 40, 50 years. Light speed. The fuck is he on the planet for? I'm down the street from Jabba the Hutt.
I'm hiding from Jabba the Hutt, so I figured I'd just go like 5 miles away from him.
Right. I go to the bar that's nearby that all the bounty hunters hang out at.
Yeah.
In case anybody's looking for a ship or something. Nobody will know it's me and the giant Wookiee that I hang out with.
Oh, that's good stuff. You don't think about it.
Because we were kids when we were watching it. I'm sure our parents groaned over some of it when they were watching it. But when we were kids, we were like, "Yes, this makes total sense." Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, whatever. Anyway. So I still like the show. That we make fun of it, folks. It's one of those things where like there's not a whole lot on TV to watch. I mean, there's actually like lots of great shows, I guess, but like they don't come out at the same time. So it's like in terms of like things I'm watching right now, like I kind of do look forward to Wednesday night and just putting on, the Star Wars or one of the Marvel things right now because I find them more entertaining than a lot of other shows. But if I had a selection of shows, maybe I would rate it less highly, but the ones I like to watch, this is kind of it right now. I can't ever make heads or tails of any of the Netflix shows. They all got these names. There's all these shows, and they just say things like, the chocolate cookie or something, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know if I should watch it or not. It's 20 episodes and shit. It's 3 seasons already. I don't know if it's good, bad.
Jill looks for love, and you're just like, who? What?
Well, or, you hover over it and it starts that little trailer, and there'll be like some guy in a white outfit looking up at the trees or something. And then, some guy will be smoking a cigarette.
In a world.
Right. Well, they don't even give you narration. They're just like, they're in the thing and they're just like, somebody's like, yeah, Jill called and she's upset that you moved the car. And it's like, yeah, the car. Right. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. I can't watch this. Shut this shit off. So I got to get word of mouth from people. But then there's those Netflix, like, people with no lives that watch every show kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, they're on Facebook all the time, and they're like, I'm watching, Antiques Roadshow season 49, or something. And you're like, I don't think that's good. I need more than that. So,
Yeah, I've actually started watching more Antenna TV because I've been like watching dude, I was watching Soap.
Oh,
That
I remember
show
that. Yeah.
a lot funnier than I remember. And Benson, I never watched Benson when I was a kid,
Right.
but I've been watching it now, and I'm like, this show is actually kind of funny. Like I get it now more, but or Family Ties. I know that sounds ridiculous. Family Ties is a funny show. If you go and it's not even Michael J. Fox. It's the dad.
Yeah.
His sarcasm and deadpan is just it's just like I never noticed this as a kid. So. But just I just wanted to tell everybody because like you said, we're gonna watch this show. We're gonna keep watching it because we like it and stuff. Right. We make fun of it. People be like, "Oh, you make fun of it. You must not like it." Listen, one time in my apartment back in the day, Clint was like, "I'm watching Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's my favorite." That's what he says. He goes, "It's my favorite movie of all time, Raiders of the Lost Ark." And Kevin and I were sitting there, and Kevin goes, "Oh, well, we've all seen this. So me and Anderson are just going to make fun of this the whole time." And that's all we did was rip through it. Like, why did he do that? Why is he doing this? Why? You remember that?
Yeah.
It was like, that was over in Oakwood. We were just sitting there and it's just like, well, if you want to watch your favorite movie of all time, we're going to tear it apart. And we had a good time. And I love the movie. It's a great movie.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah. It's a great movie. But that's what we do. We love to just.
That's a thing too. Like as like with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like if you're a young person, like that grew up, in the 90s forward or something, like the whole like exploring the Inca temple with traps and arrows and shit. You've probably seen it 100 times before you like your parents are like, "Hey, you want to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark?" And it's kind of corny. But even then, like there's guys getting speared and shit to death. The eyeballs oozing out and bodies melting. You ain't gonna see that now.
Hearts getting ripped out.
Disney Plus and shit. But hold on. But when we were kids, there was no like Raiders of the Lost Ark started that shit as far as I'm concerned. There might have been like explorers like the Stanley and Livingston going out and there'd be natives there and stuff, but the whole like trap laden giant rolly balls, like arrows shooting out of things, that whole
amazing,
that was new then. And so that's what made Raiders of the Lost Ark like really like amazing as a kid when you'd watch it, because you'd never seen anything like that before. It was just like, what is this? Like, really inventive at that time. And then endlessly copycatted after that.
And as a side note, we were afraid of quicksand back then. Right. So that was the big trap back in the day was quicksand. So, but
quicksand. Yeah.
The thing, like you said, but the kids from the 90s who grew up in the 90s or whatever, and they see Raiders, and they're just like, "Oh, that's old news." That's because they had kids game shows, the Hidden Temple. Right. They were like running through traps and jumping over stuff and trying not to get gassed out. We got
video games based off of it. Pitfall was probably based off of it. The Jungle Hunt. And all that Congo Bongo.
Pitfall was the worst game, but I love it. There's no end to Pitfall. Nope. There's like, you got 10 minutes to go through this game. And you're like, well, what happens at the end of 10 minutes? Nothing. We shut it off. Like, okay. But you played it because you were like, jump on the alligator, swing on the vine, look out for the hole.
Right. There was nothing like it.
That's what we were.
It was like super inventive for the time. I mean, you got to use your imagination a lot, and they kind of helped you with some stuff. And like, it just made sense. You're like, there's 3 alligators in there and you got to jump on their eyes and because they can't get you with their mouths. And okay.
Jump on their mouth.
I get it now. That makes sense. Tar pit is going to come. Yeah. Tar pits. That's a thing. Those are dangerous.
They just open up underneath your feet.
Just take you down. You don't want to do that. No, totally. Okay, well, I got about 12 minutes left. I was going to talk about Cyberpunk, the video game, but I can do that next time. I wanted to briefly mention, because it's in the news now, and maybe it'll be in the news when this show finally comes out, but like North Korea launched a bunch of missiles again. And I think we're at the point, like, we just don't give a shit anymore about North Korea doing things. Because they already have nuclear weapons, and I guess they could use them and bomb somebody, but they're not really going to, right? I mean, if they did, we would turn their whole country into like a parking lot. Like we would just melt the whole thing down into nothing. They know that. We know that. They're not going to do themselves any favors by doing anything with those bombs. So like they're not going to invade anyone. So who cares? I guess is what I'm saying. Like who cares that they're launching missiles off? Nobody does. Like Joe Biden's looking at that Russia thing over there, which again, I still don't think Russia is going to invade the Ukraine. I just don't think it's enough men. You know, in World War II, right? Over like way over on the east, Hitler what he was trying to do was he put a whole lot of troops into this town called Stalingrad, and it was basically the largest battle of any war ever. And what he was trying to do is he was trying to cut off the Volga River in terms, not the water, but in terms of like transport, because to the south of the Volga was the oil. And so he was thinking, if I can cut the oil off from the north, then the Russians are on borrowed time. They're not going to be able to power their tanks, their trucks, their planes, and they're going to lose, And it wasn't a bad plan, really. He almost succeeded with it, but, he didn't, thank God. But my point is that in this town of Stalingrad, it was something like, I think, 10 million German soldiers were fought and were casualties, not deaths, all of them, a lot of wounded and stuff, but had circulated through this situation and with the Russians and everything in order to fight this one battle over time. And so, and that's for like one town in a major conflict and the biggest battle ever. But my point is that attacking the Ukraine, even with modern weapons and technology, with 100,000 men is just not enough. There's 40 million, there's like, I think there's like, there's 40 million people in the Ukraine, or there's 40 million people in like Kiev or something. I don't think there's 40 million in Kiev, but Kiev's got like millions of people. There's 40 million people in the country itself. I mean, if you just handed out guns to all the citizens, I mean, how far are the Russians going to get? Like, how far are they going to get? Like, it's like, there's just not enough troops. So I keep watching these things and I keep like everybody's like worried about it and talking about it, and he could attack at any time and stuff. And I keep watching and thinking, what do you guys all know that I don't know? Because I can't, like, you got to patrol the streets. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to take over a country, you got to be in your Jeep and be like on the corner of every corner to make sure there's no like hostilities and everything. Like, it's a lot of work, and you need a lot of people to invade a country and go from building to building and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, I just don't see it. Yeah, he could bomb them all day and night and turn it all into a pile of rubble. He could certainly nuke them. I don't think that'll happen. But I just don't see like how this invasion thing is going to work. Like, I feel like it's just, there's a lot of talk about this right now, but I don't see it. And I don't know. And I could be wrong. He could do it, I guess, but I'm just sitting here watching, like, even I saw the general, like the Americans, we had a news conference recently and the general was talking to the press and he was kind of like, yeah, he's like, I mean, he's got like 100,000 troops there. So he could, he's got everything in position. So he could do it. But I could tell the way he was saying it is that he was like thinking the same thing as I was, is like, probably not enough. Yeah. Probably not enough guys, because again, that's not like 100,000 guys all running over the border. That there's guys running radar stations and hell stations. There's guys driving trucks. There's guys running the airfield. There's lots of guys in supply. There's guys changing tires. Guys are bringing in ammunition. You have tons of officers and logistics and all this kind of stuff. So like, the actual guys that are in the tanks, or in the ATVs and shit that are going to go over there with guns and fight is a lot less than 100,000. And you got a city of 40 million people. I just don't understand. I just don't get it. I mean, if you had 50,000 people, could you take Cleveland with 50,000 people? I don't think you could. I mean, maybe you could, but you'd get a lot of resistance. There's a lot of people armed here. Like, Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people here that are just itching to use their guns and shit. And
we just set the city on fire and leave.
I mean, I think like Strongsville has like 30,000 people in it itself. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to say,
Would
but I
you
just
want
think
to take over Cleveland.
I just think like North Korea, like now they're shooting missiles off. It's like, do you really want to negotiate with Joe Biden anyway? Like, I mean, the guy's 90 years old and shit. Like, he's going to be like, what are we talking about? I don't remember what we're talking. Who are you?
I remember I bought a candy bar for a nickel.
I'm going to send Kamala Harris to North Korea. I mean, he probably should just
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as whenever, well, I don't know if it's the same thing, but it's the same situation like whenever anybody's like, oh, Russia's massing troops and da-da-da-da-da, or China's doing this, or Korea's doing this, or da-da-da. Nobody's going to blow anybody up. Like, nobody's sending nuclear. Like, if Korea was like, we're going to send nuclear bombs to China, we're going to blow them up. Well, that nuclear fallout's going to come to you.
Right.
Like, you're just screwing yourself. Like,
right.
It doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, they're shooting the rockets off and they're doing all this stuff. That's just them being bros. You know what I mean? That's just them being like,
right.
Hey, bro, like they're flexing. They're just like, hey,
totally.
Bro, I've got this and I can do this. And it's like, yeah, you can, but are you going to? Well, no, because I want to be able to drink the water. I don't want to have, right. two heads.
And I know you guys will retaliate and melt me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it'll be the end of me and everything that we are. So we're not really going to do it. But but if you attack us, we're gonna hit you back. And we're just sitting there like, why? We don't want your little mountain country. Like, it's horrible. Yeah. Like, we don't want it. Like,
we can't even deal with our own.
Right.
We can't even take care of our own country. We don't care about you.
I mean, did you see the mess we left in Afghanistan? Like, we were there for like, what, 15 years or something, whatever the hell it was. Like, we really don't want to go through another one of those. Like, we're not here to nation build. Like, let's just leave everybody the F alone. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I think what it is it's like with the Russian thing is like, yes, Putin is kind of like trying to be like, we could invade. Like, look what we can do, So you guys should get your NATO stuff out of here. But it's having the opposite effect. And it's because, like Trump pointed out when he was in office, is that a lot of NATO members aren't paying their dues. They're not paying the money that they should. They should all be spending something like 1 or 2% of their gross domestic income on defense. And there's a lot of countries, I don't know which ones, but just pick one like Sweden or something. That's like, we're not paying that much money. We don't care. You know what I mean? And so this is a way of being like, well, look what happens if you don't. Russia might invade and take you better pay up. You know what I mean? Better buy more American weapons, better buy more American equipment. We got to feed these businesses and make money. And the Russians are like, hey, whoa, what are you doing? We want you guys to, get this shit out of here, not buy more, but they don't, like, Putin doesn't understand the United States military industrial complex. It's not run by a dictator who just decides what A or B is going to be. It's business. You know what I mean? So if he's like, we're going to go to war, I mean, all of the defense contractors are just rubbing their hands being like, go for it. Like, we would love it if you did that. There's so much money we can make selling all kinds of defense systems to all of Europe and neighboring countries, And so it's having like the opposite effect. And it's causing this like military buildup it's going on right now. Thankfully, I think Putin isn't crazy. He's not going to like blow his top and be like, I'm nuking all of you, because that would be bad. That would be a problem. But no, I feel like that is kind of what's going on. It's a lot more like, spinning a little bit out of control in the sense of, trying to scare these other countries to join NATO, like Sweden, et cetera, and then get the ones that don't pay their fair share to pay more. Into the process. I also wonder, like, when you're North Korea and you don't have a NATO, you're in the middle of Southeast Asia. You got South Korea right below you, who was your neighbors, but there's also like other countries around. You know what I mean? There's China, of course, but you also, just water over there to Vietnam or which is communist, or Thailand around the corner and stuff, and Philippines in the Southeast. Like, why don't they you just ask some of those other countries for things? Like, why are you fucking with us? I mean, we're not really, we've got some military presence on the border of South Korea, but we've been there forever. Like, why even worry about what we're doing? Like, just go talk to some of these other countries and be like, hey, you guys want some rice or something, or we can get you guys some kimchi. We do really good kimchi up here. And they'd be like, yeah, we got some fish. We'll trade you, I don't know. I mean, maybe they can't because of sanctions and shit, but I don't know if sanctions count for food. Like, their people are always starving, and it's just like, can you buy them some food? I can't imagine we cut off food supplies. Like, that just seems fucking horrible. But I don't know. I don't know how that all works. I know a lot, but I don't know how that the diplomacy thing works. But I'm not going to North Korea on vacation anytime soon.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
I wouldn't.
Hopefully nobody gets nuked between now and the next podcast. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week, I think. It's my birthday next week. I was planning on taking that day off, but I got to work it anyway, so I think we'll probably do a show, Don, unless you got something you got going on.
We'll talk about birthdays.
Woo! And no, we're not doing that.
You're not going to do that.
No. We're going
to make fun of Boba Fett.
We'll probably look at our email again. I haven't looked at that in a couple of shows and see if there's anything new. If you want to write in the show, Oblast at vgn.us, and we will read your email on the air and answer your questions. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Peace.
You've been listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to oblast at vgn.us. That is VGN as in video game news. And be sure to check out our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/VGN, where you can get all of our shows, our videos, and some musings. Be sure to tune in each week for new episodes on our Patreon page or every other week on the public RSS feed that you're subscribed to now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Peace.